What's up, Pirates? Ray Talks here with Awaken TCG, and today we have another banger video for you guys. So this is round 7 of our 9-round undefeated run on Coretcg Online Regional that we won. And so this is round 7 against the Whitebeard. We've had already 2 previous Whitebeard commentary matches. This one is probably the highest stakes one because it's round 7. This is for 7-0, which guarantees you basically a top 32 spot, maybe even a top 16 spot. I mean, depending on how your tiebreakers are, but you get guaranteed, even if you lose the last 2 matches, a really good placing here. And so this match is very high stakes, and yeah, let's go ahead and just go right into it, commentate, and see how we do. I'm gonna ramp one Don. I will go ahead and tap. Let me go ahead and mute this. We'll go ahead and play. All right, so we have talked about this matchup quite a bit, so we basically know our game plan going into this. You know, for the most part, we want to see our vanillas on curve. And so here we actually end up going first. We don't get to win dice roll and go second here. So this is definitely by far our toughest Whitebeard match so far. I think the other 2 we won dice roll. And so here I'm stuck going first, which obviously is better for the new gate, the extra draw, and you take life later. And so I won a Festa and I only find a 2K, which is kind of... it's kind of rough, but I do get a body on board, and I still get to keep a 2K in hand. So very simple turn 1. Now my opponent here is going to go for his own search. He's going to go Ezo and search 5. You know, Whitebeards, they love to go search turn 1, right? It's probably their best turn. The only issue I have is, like, they don't need that extra body on board. You know, they're Whitebeard. That body on board is like, at the end of the game, if you don't get rid of it, and your opponent on Whitebeard like saved 2 Machinos, 3 Machinos, it could literally be a win con for them. So that early turn Ezo for Whitebeards is very crucial to play. It wins them a lot of games, and now they're banned, right? So now obviously we have the info they are actually banned. And then so obviously my turn's not the greatest. Here I would have liked to play a Nami, so I just swing 8, make my opponent give me 2 cards, or he takes life. He just ended up taking life. I would have loved to play a Nami here at least, so I could continue my search next turn, swing 6. I would be able to swing double 6K next turn and search on 5 Dawn, but you know that doesn't happen, which is fine. You know, we don't always get the perfect hand. I think this is one of the hands where I definitely needed to take life and definitely needed to draw into some good cards. So he gets the Atmos, the 4-cost vanilla on curve, which is very, very in Whitebeard fashion. That's basically their turn 2. So now I'm swinging 6. I'm pressuring, leaving 4 Dawn up on my side. Means I'm going to play a Bins probably. Yeah, so there's my Bins. Oh, so I had a decent hand. I was able to swing 6 at the Whitebeard, and he gave me a 2K. So that means whatever 1K he had in his life, he wanted to keep and use. So he's on 6 Dawn, so he probably wants to thatch. But if I remember correctly, there's a devastating turn here for him. So I'm counting up his Dawn. I'm realizing the situation, and then I get a Judgment of Hell trigger. Yes, F's in the chat. Everybody comment F's for the Whitebeard. He wanted to thatch, but I get a Judgment of Hell trigger, which means on your opponent's turn, if they have 6 or more Dawn, Dawn -1. And so he was at 6 Dawn. I get that trigger, and then now he goes down to 5 Dawn. So instead of playing a thatch, he goes Luffy swing. Which is better for me because now instead of an 8K body that I was going to have to deal with next turn, I just got to deal with this 6K, and then I can potentially, you know, go for some board clear here. Now I'm thinking I give him a 2K. So that's 3 2Ks already. Mind you, I run 9 in this deck, so that's already 3 gone. So I only have 6 more. But I do have so many events. I feel like using those early 2Ks versus a Whitebeard to save your life early is definitely necessary, especially if you already have a hand. I guess I did have a hand at this turn. Maybe I was thinking of a different game. So I go 6 at the Luffy. He has no Dawn active, so he has to cough up cards, right? And so as you can see here, this Whitebeard is already in a rough spot because I'm forcing him to give me cards that he potentially probably needs. and or I'm just going crazy with the amount of swings I have, because like are you gonna let board go, or are you gonna give me more cards, right? So there I double swung 6K, and I was able to play a Shiki, and that was my 7 Don turn, 6 Don turn, 7 Don turn. It was my 7 Don turn. So I played Shiki for 6, went on my leader to swing. And so now the Whitebeard has already given me so many cards, which means for late game, he's not going to have that many to protect himself with, which is a good sign, right? The more we get him to use cards earlier on, the better it is for me. So now here, he has the option to either go for my bins or go for my life. But the thing is with Doffy is, if the Whitebeard goes at my life and keeps my board as big as it is, that goes into my favor, because like here I'm at 3 life. I want to take one more. I know my dice says 4, but I'll right now when I take life, I'll change it to 2. But I want to take life. I want another card here. Give me a card. Maybe it's a 10 Doffy. You don't know how many times I've taken life and it was a 7 Luffy or a 10 Doffy whenever I needed it, right? And so it just it turns like this. So there he goes 8 at my bins, and I just go Union Armada for 2. So now he wasted 2 Don. He can't get those Don back. My bins is staying alive. As you can see there, now he has to redirect his attacks to me, which I'm all for. I take a card, see what I need. Debating if I want to take one more. And the thing is, I have a lot of protection, and so I don't mind going down in life. So see, obviously I'm at 2 life now, and I go ahead and give him a 2K searcher because I know what I have in my hand, and he's not going to like it. So now we are at 9 Don. 9 Don, but I have a Shiki, a Bins, and a leader that I can attach one Don to and swing. So now this turn is going to be very brutal for my opponent. It's turns like this where you just gotta start swinging, keep swinging these low 6K amounts whenever possible. Put the Whitebeard in really uncomfortable spots, make him give you cards. Here I'm looking. I forget what my turn here is, but we're about to find out, right? And so far that Whitebeard has been playing very aggressive, very, very aggressive, and he's paying the price for it. Why? Because he's been giving me so many cards, right? The more cards he gives me earlier on, like I've said 1,000 times, and I'm going to continue to say, is the worse it is for the Whitebeard. The Whitebeard wants to play, moderately protective of his units, and maybe not overswing sometimes, depending what the board state is. Like maybe he should have aced, maybe he didn't have ace, but like in some situations, obviously an ace will just crush a board. It'll just crush a board, and that's why the Shiki that I run one of is so amazing, because even with an ace, you can't kill the card, right? And so it makes that ace ineffective, and like you can only swing. And so I swung 8 at the Luffy. He blocked out for 2 cards, which is amazing. We love to see that there. Give me 2 cards for 1 Don. And now it looks like my opponent is down to like below 8. It looked like 7 cards or something. Let's go ahead and see what I do here. I want to speed it up a bit. I'm thinking. Let's see what I end up doing here. So I'm at 9 Don, so I can use 2 and still have 7, which looks like what the plan is going to be here. So now I'm swinging another 6 at his Luffy, and I'm forcing him to give me another card. If not, he's going to be in a real bad spot for lethal. It looks like he has 6 cards in hand. 5 or 6 cards. And I swing 6 and he coughs up another 2K. And so like all these turns are amazing. And so I'm able to play a Luffy here, but I have basically no backup, right? I don't have another card in hand to play. And sometimes it's like that, I was playing earlier today, testing a little bit with some of my buddies that came over and we were testing. I was bricking like crazy, and I'm like, wow, I usually never brick like this, but that can happen with this deck. But if you see your cards and you're seeing your events, it's a scary sight. It is a scary sight. And just luckily this tournament, I was seeing my cards more often than not. But in this situation, obviously I didn't have a follow-up. I would have loved to play an Uta because that would have been insane, right? I can just rest his blocker. I'm swinging for lethal next game, just to get the rest of his cards out. And so my opponent now is going to go on a little think journey. I'm in a good spot. I have a 7 blocker up. I have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to take one more life with his Luffy up. I never want to go down below 0, so I'm basically gonna always keep myself just under just over that threshold of 1. Now I'm debating what I want to do here. This is a very crucial turn. I think he's swinging here at my bins. I do remember this moment exactly. He's swinging at my bins, and I'm calculating in my head what my turn's going to look like next turn and if I can let go of it. To save you guys the hassle, I think for about 2 minutes and 36 seconds, I counted it. I thought for 2 minutes and 36 seconds, but we were so early on. As you guys can see, this game has only been going on for 12 minutes, right? So if I'm going to take my time, it's going to be on a later turn, on a crucial moment. Like, obviously, you can see the game here it's about to end. And so we're barely a third of our regular time in. If you want to take 2 minutes and 36 seconds, like I did, to think of a simple swing on your bins, feel free. If you're doing this every action, starting from turn 2, then, okay, there's going to be an issue. But here, this was like the actual first moment where I took to be like, okay, give me a second, I think. And my opponent's like, yeah, that's fine, right? And so I took 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and I eventually let it go, right? And half of that time, to be honest with you guys, is me doing math in my head. Okay, what if he swings here? What if he swings here? Is he going to go for game? What if he plays, this card? What is my turn looking like? What am I going to block? If he puts 2 on Luffy, swings at me, am I taking that? Am I not taking that? And so I'm just, calculating a lot of numbers in my head, seeing what I have in my hand, and thinking, right? At the end of the day, the other half of that is thinking on whether or not I should take it. Is it a good move? Should I keep that pressure on board? I have 2 cards in hand. If I go down to 1 or 0, then it's going to be real trouble for me, because then my opponent gets to just swing at me for free, right? And so, yeah. Now my opponent takes his action after he thought a little bit too, for around 15-20 seconds that I was yapping. I end up taking that. 1, it's unblockable. 2, I would have to counter out 4K, which means a 4K event, which I don't know if I had in hand. But he swung at me 8K, which was a big turn. And so then he swings a raw 6 with his Newgate, which for me, I'm like, is this a bait? Is he going to attack again with his Marco to put me down to 1 life? And so I'm in my head, I'm thinking, is he going to swing with his Marco to put me at 0 and then just put all on his Luffy next turn and swing at me, because I can't block that? And 2, I can't counter out. I have 3 cards. And so, yes. What happens is I just go ahead and block for free. He plays Fossa and he passes, or he double Fossa and passes. And then he takes his last life. So thankfully he did not, a swing with his Marco. I think a better turn would have been put that 4 Dawn on Marco and swing 9K at me. Check my hand. If I don't, I take life. If I can't kill you this next turn, GG. Oh, I'm saying this like I didn't purposely bring his hand down to like 0 cards so early on. Never mind. Scratch that. That last statement I made, scratch that. I'm yapping too much. I swing 7 at his Luffy, I think. He gives me a 2K. That's beautiful, right? I'm completely fine taking that, because why? Yep, as you guys know, I'm playing a Doffy. Luffy rested, Atmos rested, Leader rested. So that is 3 huge rests. Now he can't swing for game at all. I have a blocker up. I have 3 cards in hand now instead of 2. And he probably doesn't want to swing with his Marco blocker. Obviously, he's not going to swing with his Fossas. And now his hand is down to like 3 or 4 cards. And they're probably events because he literally left his hand up. And so this is a sticky situation that he put himself in. He didn't have to go and swing so much. He knew that this turn I could have 10 costed. A good player, not a good player, but because obviously he's a great player. He made it to 6-0, right? So he's a great player. A player that would have had the thought process of, oh, he could potentially Doffy, is not giving me 3 targets there to rest, right? So he would have saved a swing for this turn, which would have been beneficial, give him some Dawn to actually use his Dawn somewhere, right? But it's hard to expect it, and I went the whole game without it. And so at this point, he's probably, that's the last thing on his mind, right? He's just playing like I don't have it, which sometimes is the smart play, right? So he ends up trashing the Atmos and going Thatch on board, which I understand. I really do understand. You know, the Thatch is useless there if you can just upgrade a card, keep my events up in hand. So now he has no life, and it's my turn. I think I just obviously I pressure the Luffy here because I don't want the Luffy to live. And it's the same thing, right? I think I'm actually swinging at life here, so he actually has to give me cards because he could just give the Luffy and then be like, okay, fine, I saved myself a card. So I have a couple options here. The Marco obviously is a bit of a problem. He has 2 fossil blockers. Obviously, I'm not gonna double sugar, double rest the fossas, swing for game with my 1 on lead, like 2 on or 1 on my Luffy, and then go for game because he still has another blocker. He does have 3 blockers. I think the best course of action from here is just pressure cards out of his hand, and then if I have another 10 drop, do the 10 drop, keep the Luffy up, because now I have 4 cards in hand. I'll go down to 3, but at the end of the day, I still have 1 card in life, and if I 10 drop here, he has no Luffy to use, and so I swing 10 and he blocks. That's fine. We got rid of one of the blockers, and especially if we have a sugar in hand, even with 2 blockers, I think it's more of a manageable spot to go for game. I think so I do have the 10 cost, as you can see right above me right here. I go ahead and play another one. I'm not sure if I top deck it or if I already had it, but regardless, it gets played, and there was not much of another option for me to go. I know I didn't have a Luffy blocker combo here, so I mean that was my best course of action, and then that Luffy obviously would have been trouble for me. Now I get to negate 2 swings, and he can really only swing with his Thatch without the fear of dying again. But I think at this point, the situation is too dire for him. Obviously, when the Whitebeard gets low on cards and he has no more life to take, he can't really cycle his cards, right? Or not cycle, but he can't really generate 2 cards a turn like, you know, he's used to. That only lasts for the first 5-6 turns. And so now he's in big trouble. He is in big trouble. He has to swing for game, and it's going to be real rough because he needs 2 hits to swing. I have a blocker, 3 cards in hand, 2 Dawn active, and now my opponent is going to do the thinker move, and he goes ace. Now, that's probably the only thing he has in his hand to use. I am not a Whitebeard player, but he is going for game. This is probably, you know, he's thinking at this moment this is his best shot. And unfortunately, I have the answer, and you know, we know how this game ends. Let's see what I do. I'm thinking a little bit. I take life. No Luffy, so I take life. The Luffy is rested. I know I'm swinging for game next turn, so I just go ahead and take the life for 7, which A1 is a good take because obviously he can't swing an unblockable amount at me. He only has 3. No, he put 2 on Marco, so he only has 1 Dawn up. So I know the max swing he can do is a 9k Thatch, and that's all the rest that's coming to me. 1, that's a good swing. Maybe my opponent thinks I'm bricked, because low-key, if I'm bricked here, I would have to block with the Luffy, and then he just swings 9 for game, right? This makes him commit. I mean, he was probably already committed regardless, but there is a little bit of mind game on taking life on turns where you're going to lethal next and make your opponent think that, you know, potentially you're bricked, and so it makes them confident swinging into game. So he swung 9. I just blocked with the Luffy, and he said GG's. Yeah, he had 2 cards in hand. The double 10 drop here really saved me. I might have been in a sticky situation without the 2 10 drops. I would have had to swing Shiki, my leader, Doffy, all into his units, which would have led to him just using his 3 blockers and keeping both of his units alive. And I was at, and then he could have trashed for the Marco. He would have had 4 swings. I had 3 cards in hand. Obviously, you saw I had a spider web. It might have gone a little sticky, but I might have still, you know, stuck it out if he ended up swinging with his blocker Marco. But at the end of the day, you know, double 10 drop. If I see the cards, I see the cards, right? You know, just like with any deck, you know, if you see your cards, you see your cards, and you got to chalk it up. But yeah, obviously I didn't get the curve that I wanted. I had to go first, but I was able to pull it off, and that is going to be today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, sticking through the series, and supporting me, guys. I really appreciate it. I really have gone to enjoy these commentary style videos, so if you guys like them, I'm gonna keep doing them, just for not only my games, for other people's games. Maybe I'll do finals and just like really go in depth with the, you know, a series like this. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel at Awaken TCG. We're so close to 1,500 subs. We're like 4 away, so go ahead and subscribe to us right now. I appreciate you guys. Like this video, comment down below what you thought about this match, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.